Hey, this is Johnny Kashmere, one half of the original Backseat Boys tag team and new manager of the new Backseat, Tommy and JP Grayson, and you are watching Drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody, welcome Drinking at Moe's. Big Mo here. Be sure YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff because it helps with that algorithm. We're most places you can find your podcast, Spotify, Apple. Today I have with me, pretty damn excited, Johnny Kashmere. How you doing?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Oh, I can't complain. We had a pretty big last couple of weeks for wrestling. I know shortly before that, I got to attend my first ever AEW show, so that was pretty fun. I mean, they've never came within more than less than 3 hours of here. So it's like whenever I can get the time, it's like, come on. But overall, we just got done with WrestleMania, big show. You asked me, night one was better, but that's my opinion. But like I said, I can't complain. But
Very good. Yeah, I forget how lucky we are living up here where I am in the Northeast, because they're always coming to Philly and New York and Jersey. The fans in this area really get to see a lot of the travel and wrestling, like WWE, AEW, etc.
Yeah, I mean, we get WWE periodically, like a good handful of times a year. But AEW, yeah, it's other than Kansas City, the closest they've come is like St. Louis, Chicago. And good Lord, they seem to go to Chicago like a couple times a month.
Yeah, it does seem like they're in Chicago a lot. You're right.
Yeah. But first thing I'd like to start off with each of my guests with, especially their first time on, is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you started, making a leap into the business.
Sure. Well, when I was about 4 years old, I used to be babysat by my grandmother a lot, and she would always have wrestling on. And she did like WWF back then, but I think her real passion was like NWA, the Ric Flair and all that stuff. So as a little kid, I watched wrestling. It seemed like it was on 5 nights a week. Multiple shows a day.
Yeah.
So I was exposed to it from a really young age. So I would say from age 4 on, I started liking it, and then collecting the action figures and all that stuff starts, and then it became cool amongst my friends. So I grew up with it. I was alive. WrestleMania 1, I was what, 5, 6 years old, something like that, at WrestleMania 1. So I remember WrestleMania 1. So that's pretty neat. I always say my generation's the first generation to grow up with WWF and to grow up with video games. So my generation.
Nope, I'm with you there. I mean, for WrestleMania memories, I have been alive for all of them. I mean, the very first one I think was like either the year I was born or like that very next year. So you can, I guess, technically say I'm as old as WrestleMania, which, I mean, good Lord, we're getting up to, we just passed 39. We're moving on to 40. It's like, God damn, my wife likes to joke around with me about telling me I'm getting old. I'm like, don't remind me.
Yeah, WrestleMania is now a middle-aged man. You're right.
Yeah, good Lord. It's weird thinking about it because, doesn't seem like all that long ago, but then you look back at how many years it's actually been. You're like, holy shit.
Right. like the Super Bowl. What are they up to now in the Super Bowl?
Oh
You know?
God. Yeah,
Right. The Academy Awards. I remember the 64th annual Academy Awards was a big deal, and that was in the 90s.
yeah, and
So
they're good Lord, yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. But I didn't have the luxury of really having very many. My dog, I got a Great Dane. My dog is trying to drink out of the sink right now, so I'm trying to alert her. But where was I? Oh, family. I was really the only one besides some cousins that liked wrestling. So whenever one of us would catch that it's on, we would try to alert the other. And, me and probably oldest cousin on my mom's side, probably the only really two that stuck with it. I mean, hell, I've been actually, we actually both ran into each other at a show about a year or so ago. I didn't know he was going to be there until all of a sudden I'm getting a text when I'm walking down to my seat. He's like, "Are you here?" I'm like, yeah. And then I walked up, we said hello. It was a good little time because I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. So, but
right.
oh, and I mean, now that I was thinking about that, going back to that, wrestling has a way of, I mean, they say it has a way of bringing people together. And in the case of me and my cousin, kind of bringing us back together since we hadn't seen each other in a couple of years.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of, it was almost like a religion in a lot of households around me. People growing up in the 80s, even in the 70s, wrestling was a staple. It was, like your favorite TV show, at most you get it once a week for what, 12 weeks, 20 weeks, if it's, maybe 24 weeks, if it's like an NCIS. But wrestling,
Yeah.
you were getting 52 weeks a year,
Yeah.
and multiple times a week. So there really was kind of like nothing like it on TV. It really was like a kind of like a hybrid between a sport and a sporting event and a scripted TV series.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah,
No, and lately I've been seeing, we got introduced on Facebook, but you've been popping up for some friends of mine who were actually the first ever recording for the podcast I did over Zoom of the SATs. They got their promotion up there. Wrestling is now. They just recently had a show, correct me if I'm wrong, and they're going to be having another one here coming up in May. I've been contacted about doing some recordings with some people, so it's looking like, from what I'm hearing, going to be another pretty big show for them.
yeah. I'm set to wrestle on it as of now. Actually, it's supposed to be me and the new backseats, my team, against all three SAT. Which for me that really means a lot because I was wrestling the SAT in the year 2000. I want to say 2001. I was wrestling them first, for Steve Carino's federation in Pennsylvania, and Pottstown was where we were wrestling them. So it's going to be interesting to step back in the ring with them, because there is a competitive nature between all of us, but we're also friends. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out.
Oh yeah, and I mean, heck, those guys have been. I mean, there's a reason they call them the fathers of the style today. I mean, look at all the stuff that they innovated or invented. I mean, good Lord, I always joke. I periodically message them, and I'll always joke around whenever I see a Spanish Fly on TV. I'm like, y'all did it better. And I mean, it's
Spanish
true in a
Fly.
lot of ways. There's not very many people that can do it anywhere near as good as those guys do.
No, but the problem is the Spanish Fly has become like a DDT. It's just used in every match now. Which
Yep.
is unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
No, that is very true. There's so many maneuvers that kind of fall under that category. I mean, you going back to the DDT we brought up and how that move back in the day, it was like you knew when somebody hit that, it was done. Like Jake the Snake, he's talked about it a bunch. There's like there's just the way that he did it. It was like you knew when he did it, you were done. And falls into the same category as the super kick. Good Lord, that move gets used like when it's used right, and then just it's good, but it's like you don't want to see it every single match, and it seems like anymore, vast majority of matches you see that in there at some point. And
it's not very hard to do, and it looks good, it sounds good, so a lot of people like to use it. You're right, I agree.
Yeah, and you brought up your team, the new back seats. Now, how did that come up? Because I remember, a while back, the Backseat Boys. I remember hearing about them, and I never really got to see them live because different parts of the country. But I would hear about them, and then coming up here, I end up hearing about your team, and I'm like, huh. So how did that come about? For me, I love hearing the the origin stories, but for anybody that's gonna listen to this, how did everything come about with you and them?
Well, back in '99, pretty much the number one independent fed. This was before AEW and Ring of Honor and all that stuff. It was NWA New Jersey was like the main fed that was getting press in the dirt sheets or the newsletters, they used to call them, because there was no internet, there was no YouTube. And the guy that used to book for NWA Jersey was Donnie B. And Donnie B created the Backstreet Boys gimmicks, characters, and cast Trent and I, chose me and Trent to be the Backstreet Boys. And then he started managing us on the road. And, we really did well for ourselves. We really enjoyed tag team wrestling, and we had a good cohesion, and it worked. And, we were able to breathe life into it, thank God. And then Trent obviously, passed his untimely death back in 2010. I, left the wrestling business and pursued other ventures for a while. And then I started, becoming friends with different wrestlers, like Nick Mondo, for example, was going in the Hall of Fame, and I was able to be there, in person to see it. And when I was there, I met a bunch of other wrestlers, local guys in my area, younger guys, that really remind me of me when I was that age. And, they're saying stuff about how the Backstreet Boys are respected and all. And I'm kind of like, that's nice of these guys to say that, because I'm here with them, Then I would meet other people, and other people would say it. And I'm starting to think, like, what? Like, I mean, I don't know. I guess everything we did, I thought was just forgotten, and it wasn't. And I started realizing, like, wow, this, the Backseat brand is still sort of being kept alive by the fans and by the wrestlers in the locker room, who were, I don't know what the word is, inspired by, maybe.
That would be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have delusions of grandeur, obviously, but like, I'm just saying, like, what we did seemed to affect them today, and they seem to still be keeping it alive. And Donnie B and his brother Nova introduced me to this awesome tag team called the Graysons. I started to get to know these guys. I realized they were what I felt as like under-respected, if that's even a word. For as good as they were, I was surprised they weren't, a household name in tag team wrestling. Tag team has always been my thing. I've always considered myself a tag specialist. I was trained by a tag team. I've been in multiple tag teams. and these guys they're it. I mean, they've got it. Like if you know tag wrestling like I do, these guys just jump out at you, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, how can I help these guys? Anything I can do? And then it hit me. You know, these guys are big backseat fans, and a lot of they've been influenced by us. You know, so it just sort of happened one day. We talked about it. It was like, hey, you know, I mean, I had no intentions of coming back to wrestling or starting a new backseat tag team. Nothing like that was anywhere near my mind. It just sort of happened. And when stuff like that happens, you just sort of go with it. You know, you go with the flow because, you know, some of the best things that have happened to me in my career were unplanned and spur of the moment. So I've learned that when that happens, to just go with it. You know, sometimes that's how things are meant to be.
Oh yeah, you bring up inspiring a lot of people. I mean, heck, I know, like, for right now, off the top of my head, some specific matches are escaping me. But heck, even out here I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm hearing about you guys, and then now you're bringing in, you know, the Graysons and going into being the new back seats. Wow, words are hard, but you know, it is kind of keeping that alive, like you said. And you know, everything that I'm hearing from, you know, keeping up with the SATs and, you know, wrestling is now, and you know, seeing where the guys that have been on their cards have sprouted out from there. I'm like, I'm loving it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm excited too. You know, it's neat to be back. You know, the new back seats have only been on the scene. We announced that we were going to make our return in middle of January, and we actually made our debut, I should say, not return. And we made our debut in March, end of March. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're still brand new. You know, like sky's still the limit for us. We're still, you know, testing it out. You know, we're taking the old car for a test drive, so to speak. You know, I tell the guys all the time, you know, you look around at all the wrestlers of today and they're in brand new cars, but we have a classic car that's restored with a new engine, and that's pretty damn cool too.
Oh no, totally. There is something about, you know, seeing those classics get a new life breathed into them, and just getting to see them run wild again. And you know, you bring up being a tag team guy, tag team specialist. I've always been a fan of, you know, tag team wrestling. You know, going back to hell, growing up, some of my personal favorites, and one of the only acts that has ever gotten me to be on my feet in a crowd from the moment their music hit to the moment they went back through the curtain. The one time I ever actually got to see them, the Road Warriors, Legion of Doom.
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh yeah, no, like growing up as a little kid and seeing them coming out with the spiked shoulder pads and stuff, and seeing the crowd going nuts, man. And then I got to see them at a Monday Night Raw taping at a venue here in Omaha that doesn't exist anymore. That's another story. But I just remember when that music hit, and like, I'm like, holy crap, I'm getting to see these guys. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, they're awesome, man. They are awesome.
Yeah.
They're probably responsible for bringing tag team wrestling to a new level. You know.
Oh, totally. And then
Yeah.
you see the evolution through them leading into the era of like the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and then kind of tag team wrestling on a national scale kind of fell off, for the lack of a better term, because most places
Yeah.
didn't seem to really highlight it. And then
Right.
kind of brought up this last WrestleMania. And holy crap, tag team wrestling, especially that first night, I was loving it. Like, holy crap, that the main event whole nother thing. The tag team fan in me was just loving that. And then, that tag team showcase they had was not too shabby in and of itself.
Yeah, no, it's good. No, it's definitely good. You're right. And tag team wrestling it's a lost art, and there's a lot to orchestrate. So more can go wrong, but more can also go right. So when it's done correctly, it's really something to behold.
Oh, totally. And you bring up tag team wrestling being a lost art. There's another kind of lost art, if you ask me, and that's the art of a good manager. And you being along with the new back seats, what do you think goes into being, that good manager, that good guy in the tag team's corner, or in anybody's corner? Because
Well,
all right, everybody, want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin at Moe's be a brand ambassador. They encourage everybody to break out of that comfort zone, live their best self, which, hey, that's what got me starting the podcast. But they got great clothing, great apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, hats, all that good stuff. Be sure, link will be in the description, and use the code Drinkin at Moe's to get 10% off your order. Let's fucking go.
all right, technical difficulty. Somebody you tried to call me in the middle of a recording, but we're back at it. We were about to talk about the lost art of being a manager.
yeah, I'm still trying to navigate the waters myself. I'm by no means an expert at this point, but trying to change my thought process from one of a tag team wrestler to a manager has been challenging, and it's been interesting, and it's been forcing me to think outside the box a little bit and mature and evolve as a performer myself, because I'm trying to ask something new of myself that I haven't really done before. And as a wrestler, as a tag team wrestler, you're always thinking about, what do I say, what do I do to make myself look great, to make people believe in my character. It's all me, I. And as a manager, it's all them, we, us, them, so you have to sort of change your pronouns around a little bit. But I'm getting used to it. I enjoy it. I really, really like it. But man, the itch to get in the ring is just so tangible, like there's, like I'm excited to do a trios match with these guys, and, see how I go from there. I mean, I've kept myself in decent shape. I didn't let myself go. So there's no reason I shouldn't be able to get in the ring a few more times in my life, so I'm looking forward to that too. So, it's not every day that you have a manager that can also wrestle. So I figure that's a unique thing. So I'll try to use that to my advantage as best I can.
No, that is definitely true. Not every manager is known for being a guy that can also get in there and mix it up. No. And you right there have that little bit of an advantage, so to speak. And you have that history in there, and now being the guy behind the new back seats, that'll be interesting. And going up, like we've mentioned before about the SATs and going up against those guys, I mean, the new back seats, the SATs, that history in and of itself is going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And we both have new members. There's new back seats, and there's a new SAT. Will Maximo wasn't there when I was wrestling. So it's like both stables, both factions have expanded as time went on, which is neat. It's posterity, success of future generations. That's important, especially in a business like ours.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
SAT, back seats, we've proved that we have staying power. No one can take that away from us.
Oh,
And sometimes that's all you need.
oh, totally. When you have that staying power, yeah, nobody can take that away from me. And bring up a good
Mm-mm.
point. And wrestling is an ever evolving business, and the guys that really have that staying power are those ones that are evolving, like
Yes.
SATs, like the back seats.
Yeah.
You can go into people like, oh, two that pop into my head right off the bat: Chris Jericho and the Undertaker. With Undertaker, especially how he went from when he first got to WWE to that he evolved in the Undertaker character in and of itself, the dead man, and then evolving further, going with the American Badass, and then Jericho. Good Lord, the amount of damn evolving he's done from WWE, then going New Japan with the Painmaker, and now I hate calling him the Ocho because it's just like it just sounds stupid to me. But hey, he's done it. He's proven successful pretty much every single step of the way. And hell, he's even been being able to incorporate his band into it.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that being able to reinvent yourself like that is not just gutsy and risky, but it also shows that you have a certain level of confidence in your ability, that you are confident that you are going to land on your feet each time. A lot of guys, it's almost like they lucked out getting where they are and they know it. So the first thing they want to do is, they want to cover up the path behind them so no one can walk that path and get to where they are, because down deep inside, they know they're not going to go any further.
Yeah.
And then you got guys like Jericho and Undertaker who, they have no fear of that because they know they can always go wherever they want to go. They'll, it's important when you get to where you want to go that you turn around and help others get there. And if you don't do that, my theory is that you're going to be limited in how far you go. So guys that give back also tend to be the guys that get the most, I've noticed.
That is true, because not only giving back, hell, with Jericho, even before he's done and in ring competitive wise, he's giving back with AEW and everything he's doing there. And I like to think of it like that will make your legacy, your memory, last that much longer, because
Yeah.
people are going to be like, you know what he did for me, I want to do for others.
That's
and then
right.
if you're not willing to do that, then that's just like, you make it to where the only way people remember you is like, that's what I don't want to do.
Yeah. Well, it's also, the economics of, ideas and inspiration is different than the economics on our planet. Like we think of economics as I have $1. So if I give you that $1, now you have $1 and I don't.
Yeah.
But with ideas, with encouragement, stuff like that, I have an idea, I give you the idea. Now we both have the idea. There's nothing lost, so you don't have to guard it. There's not a scarcity when it comes to that. And all the wrestlers who are out there being just creative and free flowing and helping the guys come up underneath them, they're the ones that, in my opinion, are the ones that are going to stay and have long careers usually.
Oh, totally. I agree 100%. And you mentioned a little bit about, the two stables. You have the new back seats, you have the SATs. If, before I get into two categories I have here to kind of round stuff off, if you could build like a stable, like you pick from, we can go indies or you can just go like absolute dream stable, who would be some of the people that would be in that?
Well, obviously the back seats I would pick. You know, they're awesome. Obviously. Um, I mean, I think Jordan Oliver's phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
He's a tag champ at GCW right now. Him and his
The-
partner Wayne, they're phenomenal.
oh,
I want to
totally.
see that. Yeah, I want to see them against my guys. I think that'll be a phenomenal tag match.
Oh yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah. Trying to think who else. I'm a big fan of. I like the tag team we wrestled Friday, the Audacity.
Heard of
Big
them.
big guys, great look, great shape, monsters among men. You know, they really take their craft seriously. I was very impressed with them. I'm trying to think what other good tag teams are out there. There's so many. Kakoa, I think Kakoa, the Hawaiian, I think he's a great wrestler. I think what's that dude's name? Leo Sparrow, the Earth Champion. I think he's really good. I think he's about to break out. Ellis Taylor from the Super 8's about to break out. Jay George from the Super 8 is about to break out. Trying to think. Alec Price, I think he's phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I would say a bunch of those guys so far are the guys I want to, you know, that I would want. Cole Radrick, I think Radrick's phenomenal.
Yes.
Love watching him. Yeah, so I like all those guys. A lot of really good talent coming up. The indie wrestling and wrestling in general is in good hands with some of these new guys.
Oh, totally agree. And you know, it's funny for me because I didn't end up getting started, you know, talking about independent wrestling. I didn't get started on independent wrestling until I was in the Navy station in San Diego. And I just one day Googled pro wrestling in San Diego, and then a couple promotions popped up, and the chance meeting of one guy that, you know, the promotion doesn't do this anymore, but they would do showcase matches down in Southern California. And I went up and talked to him after one, and now here I am. Bunch of my friends in the area are in the business in one form or another. Hell, one of them even introduced me to my damn wife. So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
I got independent wrestling to thank for a lot of that. But
That's great.
oh yeah, funny thing for me is going to a bunch of those shows. My parents had at one point been like, "You really think you're going to meet anybody at those?" And then that person that introduced me, I made him my best man, but that's another story. But I remember day of the wedding, I literally walked up to my dad about laughing my ass off, and I'm like, "Do you remember when you told me that?"
Right.
A little story I always enjoy telling and getting a little chuckle out of.
That's great. It's good times. No, it's good how, you know, our hearts and souls are connected with the wrestling business in some very unique and intimate ways. You know, the wrestling business means more to a lot of people than just something on television once a week. You know, there's memories. You know, we all. I remember where I was when Hogan slammed Andre. You know, like that's just how it is. I remember where I was when Hogan turned heel. You know, I remember where I was when Razor Ramon came out on WCW, Scott Hall. You know,
I remember watching that episode in particular. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah, like, you know, that some of the best memories growing up and in high school were that stuff for me. So, you know, wrestling's pretty important. And, you know, I say it all the time. I'm like a broken record, but, you know, we could have lost wrestling over COVID. You know, like we could have. You know, WWE could have closed, and AEW could have lost their TV deal. I mean, in which case, what would there be now? It would almost just be indies. I don't know if wrestling would even have continued. So we're lucky to even have it.
Oh yeah, totally agree. Well, like I mentioned, I have two categories I like to round stuff off with. You know, one I call a little bit of a name game, where, you know, I name off some people, you give me your first thoughts on them. And this, with you stepping into the bit of a manager role, I figured I'm going to theme these towards some current day managers, and I'm going to throw in one, considered an all-time great, which I don't think anyone
Okay.
argue. First
Sure.
one, a guy that making the rounds there, AEW Ring of Honor, Smart Mark Sterling.
I don't know him personally. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm not a fan of the character. I don't want to badmouth anyone. I think he's talented. He seems like a great guy and all. I just don't find there to be a certain believability in it that I would like to have. I think.
Gotcha.
But that being said, that doesn't mean he can't tweak it and make it phenomenal. It's just my particular taste. Very talented guy, paid his dues, deserves everything he has. That sort of thing. But my personal taste as a fan, not my cup of tea.
Oh yeah, no, totally understandable. Everybody has their own tastes. Wrestling in a lot of ways is a lot like any form of entertainment. Everybody has their tastes, what they like, what they don't like. So nothing wrong with that. Next up, a guy very synonymous with Ring of Honor before Tony Khan bought it, and now that he's back in there, back behind his trio there with the Embassy, the Gates of Agony, Brian Cage, but the one and only Prince Nana.
Oh, I love Prince Nana. I mean, when I was in Ring of Honor as tag champ, he was there. I mean, he's been around. And he's such an ultra talented, kind-hearted human being. I just saw him in December at an event, and he could not have been warmer and kinder. He's just a total class act, very talented. The kind of guy that, I'm just so glad that he had longevity because he absolutely deserves it,
Oh yeah. And I'm getting a kick out of everything that he's doing with, the Gates of Agony, Brian Cage. They're still the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team champs, and it don't look like they're going to be dropping those anytime soon.
Gotcha.
Although with guys the size of those three, I don't really see how too many could take those away from them.
Yeah, believability is important.
Though that is true. Next up, a guy, he's still going. He is often considered one of the absolute best out there, one of the best in the game. The one, the only Paul Heyman.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they put him in the Hall of Fame next year in Philly. He's, especially being in Philadelphia here and being trained by ECW tag team, Paul Heyman is the man. I mean, unparalleled career, amazing charisma, hell of a nice guy. I mean, he's quintessential. He's the tip of the mountain right now as far as managers go, and he probably has been for decades.
Yeah, when you think of managers, especially even current day, he's up at the top. And you bring up a good thought that I don't think I had really thought about with WrestleMania being in Philadelphia next year. It would be kind of fitting if they put him in, because I mean, Philadelphia, ECW, those two, I mean, it would just make sense, for the lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah, it would. And I would love to see that. Yeah, he deserves it. That'd be neat to see. So.
Oh, totally. Next, last but not least, definitely one of the all-time greats. I don't think there's any disputing it at all. The Weasel, Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, he was the guy that when I was growing up and loving Hulk Hogan, Heenan was the guy you hated. And he made it he could make a fool out of himself without losing his credibility. Like he could do stupid things and act the fool, but still be believable to be concocting a master plan that could take down the top guy. And that's a hard tightrope. That's not an easy balance. It's not easy to do that, to have both.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
either one or the other. You're either the fool or you're the genius. But to be the fool and the genius and pull them both off so perfectly and then meld and marry the two together.
Yeah.
I mean, even Nick Bockwinkel used to say when Heenan was his manager, he would say, he said, if I don't show up, Heenan can do what I do. He can take over as the wrestler for the night and have a good match. He says, but I can't do what Heenan does.
Oh, yeah.
And that was really one of the best things you could say to put a manager over, really, I think.
Oh, totally. And absolutely nobody did like him.
Yeah.
Next category, I have some random questions. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be. I never really know until I put my notes together.
Okay.
But you give me the first answer that comes to your head.
Okay.
First question, craziest in-match moment for you.
For me. I guess it was we did a tag match. It was me and Trent against Rick Blade and Nick Mondo. They dove out the ring and I caught him. And as I caught him, I jammed my finger on the ground and broke my finger. And the match went on for another like 22 minutes after that. So
Ouch.
I had to unwrap some wrist tape around my wrist and sort of like crack my finger back into place and then tape it to the finger next to it and finish the match. So I think that was that got my adrenaline going, so to speak.
Oh yeah. Oh, my hand kind of hurts just hearing how.
Yeah.
But I know for me, coincidentally, the guy that introduced me to my wife was in this promotion's version of the Money in the Bank ladder match. Multi-person, they had a ladder bridge between, like, I'll use this pen as an example. Between the guardrail and the ring apron. He had a guy up on his. Oh yeah, and he had a guy up on his back, and I'm on the other side of the ring, and I see him look down. And I'm like, oh God, no! Jumps up, and all of a sudden I see the ladder fold, and they're disappearing on the other side. And like, painful.
Yeah. Well, you saw what happened to Dante Martin last week?
I did. I just saw that and like, oh God. PTSD of Sid.
Yeah, good call. But Dante has, we used to call it ups. He's got some of the best ups in wrestling business with his jump.
Oh yeah.
So for him to hurt his leg like this is very worrisome. I don't like to hear this. I hope he's going to be all right.
I'm definitely myself, and I know a lot of people out there definitely pulling for him, make a speedy recovery, and hopefully he doesn't have to really change too much stuff up because, like you said, he's got those ups. He has that high flying style that, injury too bad to the leg could definitely has the possibility of hindering that.
Yeah. Plus a good tag team. Top Flight's a good team. I want to see more of them.
Oh yeah. I actually that earlier I mentioned going to my first AEW show. I got to see them at that, and everything I'd seen on TV and more. That is for sure. Wrestling in general, whether on the national spotlight or independence, always have a lot of traveling, a lot of time on the roads, a lot of time in the airports. Especially the road trips. You're probably going to want some snacks, some different stuff. What would you say are some must-have road trip snacks?
Oh, I always crave gummy bears when I'm on the road for some reason. I like it. Yeah, I like eating gummy bears. I try not to, because you don't only have one cheat day a week, so you got to put all the gummy bears on the cheat day. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but they're good. When I'm on the road, I mean, any taco place, Del Taco on the West Coast
Mm.
or Taco Bell on the East Coast, I love. And Five Guys. Let me tell you something. Every day I go to the gym after work, usually at night. I go in the morning for cardio. At night, I go to lift. I come out of the gym every night and it shares a building with Five Guys.
Oh,
And every night I walk out of the gym smelling those fries cooking and those burgers cooking. And and I have to just pretend I don't smell it and I go about my night. But that is torturesome.
I can imagine, and it's been a while since I've been to Five Guys, but they have this way of, good Lord, you order the fries and it's like most places have that little container. It's like, why do they even bother even having a container? They just dump the shit in the bag, so it's not like
Right.
the container really does anything.
Right. If you see grease coming through a bag and it's from Five Guys, you know.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
With the title of the show like I have, Drinking at Moe's, I would feel weird if I didn't have a question like this. What would you say, favorite drink, alcoholic, non, or one of each?
Favorite alcoholic drink? I like sake. If I'm going to drink, I'm going to drink sake. Hangover free. I like it warm. I love going to like hibachi and eating it. And then non-alcoholic drink. Interesting. Probably like black cherry soda, I think.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. I know
Yeah.
non-alcoholic. I mean, I've been kind of sipping this off and on. My wife tells me I have a Dr. Pepper problem. I like to joke with her that I don't have a problem. I have it figured out. The only problem I have is if I don't have any.
Yeah. Got you.
Next question. A bit of another non-wrestling related one, but I've heard it made me think of this today. Somebody talking about spirit animals. What would you say is your spirit animal?
Good question. Wow, I like that. Maybe the fox. Yeah, I would say the fox.
Very,
Yeah, I actually saw one. Saw one recently. I was at a place in DC and it came right up to the window and I got to see it. And I took a picture. I actually put it on my story the other day. So I've seen one up and close. They're very cunning.
they can be. Oh,
Yeah.
sly as a fox, yeah. But
Yeah.
one very underestimated animal in those aspects because people think when picking an animal you think of the power or the whatever of like a lion or a tiger or something, but the fox has like there's a reason they call it sly like a fox, so I can understand that. I
Yep.
have a hard time coming up with my own. I like to think very much of kind of along the lines of a wolf, that like somebody. I'm very much somebody that if you're in my pack, if you're in my group, then I got you. So that's where I think
Gotcha.
I would probably go in that aspect.
I could say it, sure.
But last but not least, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Love it. If you're getting into it because you think, oh, I'm going to make money or oh, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to be a star. I'm going to get attention. I'm going to find women or men or whatever it is you want. Um, that's then don't get into it. But if it's in your heart, if it's in your soul, if you have to get into wrestling, then yeah, you get into it. But don't take it lightly. It's clothing you wear every day of your life. It's not something that neatly folds and gets put into a drawer and you put it away for a period of time. It finds its way back.
Yeah.
Wrestling is like an infant in a sense where it's going to demand your attention, even sometimes when you don't have it to give. And that forms lasting bonds in the end. So I think if you're going to get into wrestling, just make sure you love it. Make sure you can't live without it. Because it is going to test you. It is going to bring you to the precipice of what you thought possible physically, mentally, and spiritually. And it's going to ask you to dangle your toes over that edge and flirt with jumping in before it finally says, okay, you're accepted and, allows you to thrive. So yeah, it's got a mind of its own, the wrestling business sometimes. It's alive. I'm convinced.
Oh yeah. No, but you bring up a good point that, if you're getting into it because you're thinking you're going to be making boatloads of money, I mean, yeah, you might get to that point eventually, but not everybody jumps right into it and they're right in there at the performance center. They're right there, the rookie
Right.
year in the main event of
No.
WrestleMania. A
No.
lot of people, if they even get to that point, are spending a long time getting there. So yeah,
That's
you
right.
need to be making sure that it's 100% what you want to do. Much like you said, you're probably going to have those moments where you're like, what the? And I hear YouTube is a little more relaxed on the language these days, but like I was about to say, you're going to have those moments where you're literally thinking to yourself, what the fuck am I doing? But you get past that because you love it. I imagine you'll be absolutely fine.
I hope so, because I have tried to let it be my guide, the love for wrestling be my guide, to take me where I need to go and lead me where I have to go. In some ways, wrestlers are just cattle, just waiting to be driven across the fields in whatever way we think. And it's never the way we think. It's never. You never go the same path that you think you're going to go. It's the difference between looking at a map and then walking the actual road. There's a very big difference. So wrestling will take you where it wants you to go if you have faith in it. And if you give back, you have to give back and you have to not be greedy.
Definitely.
Yeah. So yeah. But no, this has been great, man. I'm enjoying this talking to you. You seem like a really cool guy to hang out with. So good job.
Oh, definitely. That means a lot. I definitely do my best to, be fun and lighthearted, but also, have that, people can be certain that, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just some schmuck that just like one day, oh, I want to do a podcast. I'm like, I'm passionate about the subject matter. So I'm going to definitely be, and that means a lot because, there's those days where, those weeks where hell, I try to record during the week, Monday through Friday, leave weekends open for, if a show comes up or, just me and my wife can go do whatever. But I've literally had 3 people 3 days in a row just completely flake on me. And, those weeks can be kind of draining. But then you have weeks like I've had where Warrior Wrestling out of Chicago, I've been frequently featured on their pay-per-view pre-shows, or I get a big interview like with the deathmatch legend Madman Pondo or Alex Colon or the SATs, or even we talked a lot about Ring of Honor. One of my biggest names very early on, Terry Silken. Got to talk to him. So, you know,
Great.
it definitely means a lot hearing the compliments, because it makes those weeks that, you know, they do happen. I've had it happen just the other week, really. A couple, you know, didn't pan through, but it makes going through those like, okay, yeah, those happen, but hey, I got all this other cool stuff happening, other people showing me love. So it's like, hey, you know, I got to go through that. It's whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You got to go through hell before you get to heaven, brother. You know,
That is true. You know,
nothing easy is worth doing.
oh, yep. And also you know, going through some of those sucky situations makes the good ones that much more worth it, because you're like, I went through that, but
Yep.
hey, look where it got me.
Yep, and it builds character. So
Oh,
either way, you win, brother.
definitely. And I like to feel like I'm definitely on the positive end of that aspect.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
my doggos are looking like they're needing my attention right now. So
Well, that's it then.
before oh yeah, before we wrap up, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you and the new back seats, they can go ahead and get them there.
Now, I tried to make it real easy on people. Just go to backseatworld.com, and right there you'll find the whole origin story of our tag team, both the original tag team and the current tag team, as well as links to our Instagrams and Twitters. So just go to backseatworld.com, and from there you can find us.
Definitely. We'll have that in the description of both YouTube and podcast platforms.
Thank you.
Well, like that's about it. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and
Yep.
best of luck with you and the new back seats.
Thanks. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and thank you. And we'll have to stay in touch. I want to stay up to date on what's going on with you, and vice versa.
Definitely would love that. Well,
Cool.
one of my dogs looking out, so
All right,
that's about it.
get him out there. All right, brother. Don't forget a little baggie.
Oh yeah.
All right. See ya.
Let me